The Moist Meter is a proud partner of our comic book series Godslap and Plague Seeker. Both are available at badegg.co, link in the description. It's been a while since I dropped a nice sodden Moist Meter on all of you, and mainly it's because I just haven't been seeing too many movies, and a lot of the games I've been playing recently, it's taken me a while to finish them, so it's just been a little too late to make a Moist Meter on most of them. So, this is one of the few times over the last month or so that I've been on time to a film, and it's for Saw. Saw is a franchise that was a juggernaut for quite a while, but then over the last decade or so, it's really petered out on quality and just kind of fallen out of grace. It's bled out more than a lot of the victims in the Saw traps. It's just been a real steep decline in quality for most of the modern Saw movies, and a lot of previous fans of the franchise go into these films and have the same reaction they do when they go into a dirty porta potty. Well, what did I expect coming in here? This is about par for the course. But I'm happy to say with the newest Saw movie, Saw X, Saw 10, it's actually pretty decent. Like, it's not a masterpiece by any means, and I think the reviews on it are being extraordinarily generous with giving it such high marks. But in terms of modern Saw movies, this one actually has got some strong legs here. So let's get into it. The first thing I think this movie does really well is put the focus on John Kramer. He is the protagonist, whereas in pretty much every Saw movie, the protagonist is one of the victims playing the games. This movie is entirely around John Kramer, and they spend a good chunk of time building a narrative around him, which actually gives you insight into his moral code, as well as a very interesting plot about a very diabolical scam. I don't remember what all the trailers show, so I'm going to avoid spoilers when it comes to the narrative itself. But all the characters presented here that are playing the game are very hateable, but to different degrees, and in ways that haven't really been explored in previous Saw movies that I remember. Which is good, because there's been a few times in the Saw franchise where you have to wonder, why the fuck is this person even playing the game to begin with? Oftentimes, the people that are subject to Jigsaw's games are absolute menaces that have done heinous things and crimes. But then sometimes there's been a couple of cases where it's like, why are they here? Why are you torturing this person and forcing them to play this game? Like, all they did was forget to recycle, and now you're making them play the game of putting themselves in a hydraulic fucking press or something, or a garbage compactor? Like, what? Why? It's not that bad. Like, in one of the... We're going a little back on spoilers, but in one of the Saw movies, he has someone play the game for an honest mistake, which is something he himself recognizes, where at some point he's like, it was an honest mistake. It's like, well, what the fuck? You knew it was a mistake, and you still put him in the game to get tortured for however brief a time. It's like, what? Come on. At least in this film, everyone that's there, for the most part, deserves to be there for their involvement in this absolutely unforgivable scam. Now, anyway, moving on from the plot. How were the traps that Saw is known for and the games they have to play? They were fine. I don't think they were anything special. I think they were a little bit better than the Jigsaw movie from 2017. Those I thought were actually just fucking boring to watch, like, overall. These I thought were pretty decent for the most part, but it brings me to a complaint with the way he structures the games in this one, and it's not like it's unique to this movie. But he gives them pretty much no time to complete the tasks, which again, is not anything new here. But this is getting a little spoilery, so I guess spoiler warning. Of the people who play the games, all of them do exactly what they're supposed to, exactly how they're supposed to, in a very reasonable amount of time, but it's still not good enough. Because for some inexplicable reason, he puts an arbitrary time limit on all of these that is absolutely fucking impossible. In order to complete the tasks that he gives them in the time he allows them, you would have to actually start before the time does. It's impossible. So the tasks aren't even really able to be completed because they start within 10 seconds of the timer for the most part and still can't get it done, even though they don't have any like hiccups or any breaks. They just full throttle, do exactly what they need to, but they just don't have enough time, so they miss it by seconds. If they were just given an extra minute, pretty much everyone here would have survived. End of spoilers. You can come back in now. Spoilers are gone. That was a little frustrating. That grinded my gears a little bit because even though all the characters are hateable, you don't like them and you're not rooting for them, you still recognize that this structure kind of goes against John Kramer's code because it's not exactly fair. Like, they do it. Like, they go through the redemption, right? They go through the reawakening, but they still lose just because of some arbitrary time limit. Which, again, I know is anything but rare in the franchise, but still, it was just a little frustrating because it was every single one of them. And it just got a little upsetting. But anyway, moving on from that, another thing that I want to mention that I think this movie kind of fumbles is the ending. There's no way to talk about the ending without some spoilers, so once again, another warning here. I really think it is just such an unsatisfying conclusion with quite a few plot holes when you really stop to think about it. So, the movie I thought did a good job of setting up the main bad guy, and make no mistake, John Kramer's not the good guy or anything, but I mean the main antagonist to John Kramer, the person who's like actually the focal point of assholes here that's forced to play the game. She is a very interesting opponent because she is really smart and really crafty, and through some pretty intelligent decisions that she makes, actually is able to get the word out for someone to come in and hopefully help out. And by the end of the movie, there's like a 2v2 battle between John Kramer and Amanda, who's his assistant here, and her partner. And it's a battle of wits. And eventually the tables turn on John and Amanda, and then eventually more twists and turns happen. And then the big finale, the main antagonist, she overpowers someone, kills them, and completes her game. Now, instead of her dying or anything, she just kind of sits there, and John and Amanda leave. With no actual closure on whether or not she survives. I guess the implication is they just leave her there and she starves to death and dies. But that's a little hard to believe because earlier in the movie they established that eventually they will be found at this location. And in fact, one of the, twist that comes in at the end is a child stumbles upon this, and the child even ends up getting involved in one of the games. So the fact that a child comes here means that there's most likely going to be other people that come here eventually, and probably wouldn't even take that long for them to get there. So she would likely still be alive. So she wouldn't have even died for all of the absolutely awful things that she's done and all the crimes she's responsible for. And John Kramer even made a point to say that at every point during her chance for reawakening, she's chosen death. There is no real redeeming for her soul, but instead of killing her, he just lets her kind of sit there in a pretty spacious area. It's not like she's really going to be struggling that much, to be honest. So she could get found, most likely would get found, she'd survive, and then she could even turn the authorities onto John and Amanda, since now she can make up whatever story she wants about everything that happened there, and then they'd go take care of John and Amanda. So it's just a really unsatisfying conclusion by not killing off the main antagonist who was positioned every step of the way in this film to have no redemption and no reason that she should be able to finish one of her tests, because she doesn't complete any tests at all. So why would she be able to survive? She doesn't finish any of the games. It doesn't make sense why they decided to go that route, and I really think that was a huge fuck up. At least in my opinion. But anyway, enough spoilers. Plugging Saw X into the Moist Meter, I'll give it a comfortable 70%. I think it's a good Saw movie. I don't think it's great by any means, but it's better than what Saw fans have been getting now for a little while. So it's pretty solid. I think if you like the franchise, you'll likely enjoy this one. If you don't like the Saw movies, I don't see this winning you over. But at the end of the day, it was fine. It was a good movie. That's about it. See ya.